Hello viewers, my name's Jordan Golson, and this is the Bentley Flying Spur, which is an enormous luxury motor car, but this one's kind of special because it has a plug. Real quick before we get started, if you enjoy this video, drop a like down below, subscribe if you haven't, ring that notification bell, and leave a comment telling me if you liked it, didn't like it, whatever. I just like to hear from people. So the Flying Spur has been out for a while, but this is the new one, and this one has the new powertrain, which is a hybrid, and it's a plug-in hybrid. So it's got a big battery. It's 18 kilowatt hours of usable battery space, and that's enough to take it about 25 miles on a charge or so. It's a very heavy car, so you don't get a ton of distance out of it, but it does make it clean, and here in California you can use the carpool lane if you have the correct sticker, though that really annoys me because it ruins the gorgeous exterior of this car. My test version here is a color called Jetstream 2, and it is stunning. I'm just now leaving the South Orange County Cars and Coffee, where this was a total hit, and mostly I think it's because of the color. Let's talk about the Flying Spur a little bit. This is a gigantic sedan, and theoretically it competes with things like the Mercedes S-Class, though it's way more expensive and in a class of its own. The Rolls-Royce Ghost, which itself is much more expensive and in a class of its own. The Flying Spur is kind of in the middle somewhere in the ultra luxury segment, and it holds its own really well. This is a lovely vehicle. The interior is impeccable, but we'll start with the exterior real quick. Across the front, huge front grille, and in this one is all blacked out and absolutely gorgeous. They've copied Rolls-Royce a little bit, and there is the Flying Bee emblem on the front of the car, and when you lock the doors, that disappears down into it, and then when you unlock, it appears again, and it's out there on the front, and from in here, it looks like it is absolutely miles away because this is a huge hood. The gorgeousness continues with the 22-inch wheels and with the carbon fiber running on the front and then running down the bottom and then in the back, and then you've got the blacked out package, so all the chrome bits are blacked out, and you have that gorgeous black stripe running right down the middle. At Cars and Coffee, people were definitely taking photos of that. So the exterior has an awful lot of presence. It's very clear that it's a Bentley, and it's only a little bit clear that it's a hybrid. There's a couple of hybrid badges here and there, but for the most part, it's very understated, except for there's a second fuel filler door on the back left. On the back right is the regular gas cap. It's level 2 only. Well, level 1 and level 2, so you can plug it into a regular household outlet or into a level 2 charger. It takes like 2 hours to charge, so it's not very fast, but 2.5 hours, something like that, depending on how low you let the engine or let the battery get. But if all you're doing is driving this around to the grocery store or whatever, you could spend most of your time in all electric mode. And it does some clever things. So if you set the navigation, it will use its best judgment to determine when to expel that electric energy. So you got a couple of different drive modes. One is an EV only, and so that uses all the electricity as fast as possible. Then there's a hybrid mode where you sort of leave it up to the car to figure out. And then there's a hold mode that sort of keeps the electric battery charged, though it will drain it some of the time. And so what it'll do is, let's say you're going to drive into the city for dinner, say, and you're going to be on the highway. That's where you want to use the engine, not the electric, because the engine's more efficient on the highway when you get up to speed. And so if you're going to be in the city, it'll know that, save the electric power for when you get into town. The hold mode is going to be more useful as more cities, especially in Europe, where this is built, go to electric only in town, and they're doing that for pollution reasons, and they're doing that to keep the city quieter, things like that. So you could lock this in hold mode until you get to the city center, and then put it in EV mode, and you'll have a nice quiet car to drive around. The plug-in hybrid, yeah, it's kind of silly right now because it costs a bit more than the V8. Okay, you get a tax credit, great, $7,500. That's what Bentley buyers need, is a tax credit. And so who buys the Flying Spur Hybrid? Well, it's using much of the same powertrain as the Porsche Panamera e-Hybrid, which is the Porsche sedan. This one has similar horsepower numbers to the V8. And so you're not really trading off that much. If you want a big luxury EV, they don't really exist yet, but they will. And we're talking like ultra luxury Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Maybach territory. So let's talk Flying Spur interior for a little bit. This is very similar to the regular Flying Spur. There's only a couple of differences, a few buttons that are a little different. Obviously the screens, you've got a big screen here, and they've tried very hard to make it look like a regular car, and it's got analog looking gauges, things like that, but it does show you a bunch of stuff. What song is playing, you can change the radio, you can make calls from it, you can get a navigation map on there, which is pretty nice. So you got that, you got this screen in the center, and this is my favorite trick. You can go into car and you can hit this button, Flying B, reveal or conceal. So if I hit conceal, then it disappears into the hood, which I used earlier when I was at the car wash. And then you hit reveal and it comes back out. That's kind of neat. This screen, it's not very pretty, and the rest of the car is very beautiful. You've got this open pore wood, this is walnut, and then you've got this really nice leather and the hand stitching and all that. And this screen, it's just, it seems out of place. Well, there's a button right here. When you press that, the screen rotates away and you get a couple of nice gauges, and that's outside air temperature. That one shows you what direction you're going. Then you've got a stopwatch for some unknown reason, because what are you going to take this to the track and drive around? And, oh, that's going to show me how fast I'm going. I don't know. That's the stopwatch is kind of silly. You do have a Bentley clock down here, established 1919. But I really like this. This is a $6,000 option, which is absurd, but it is very pretty, and it's a pretty cool trick to show people. And so you can hit the screen button, and the screen will come back, and when you turn the car off entirely, it actually rotates the other direction, and you just get a flat wood panel there. So you get either the wood panel when it's turned off, you get the big touch screen, or it'll rotate to just show you the gauges, which, okay, that's kind of cool. I like that. In here, it feels phenomenal. The seats are incredibly comfortable. They're massaging. And this version is fitted with the executive rear seats, so it's a 4-seater. The rear seats might be even more comfortable than the front because there's a little pillow on the headrest, and these just have regular headrests. That's not nearly as nice. The stitching is incredible. This is beautiful. The steering wheel is very comfortable. The metal is all absolutely gorgeous, though it's sunny today and it's like reflecting a little bit. This one has the Mulliner specification for $20,295, and that gives you the 22-inch 10 twin-spoke alloy wheels, the diamond quilting on the seats, these 3D leather door panels, which are outrageously cool, leather headliner, sport pedals, a special fuel filler cap, a metal oil cap under the hood, that's important, and embroidered Bentley emblems here on the seats. So clearly you want that. This specs out to about $280,000 as is. So it starts at $210, and you start adding stuff, and it gets more expensive. It's absolutely gorgeous. As beautiful as the exterior is, the interior is even more luxurious, and it feels Britishy in here. And I'm not sure how to describe it, because lots of other cars have like beautiful wood, but this is extra exquisitely beautiful. And you touch it and it's like, oh, you can tell that this is real wood and it's not a veneer. And you can, you know, the metal bits on here and the little plungers that you have to open and close the vents, it's all just really nice. The leather's nice. The ceiling is exquisite leather. And just, you get in and you can immediately tell, oh, this is a bit fancier. It's the same way that you can tell a $500 watch is very nice, but a $25,000 watch, well, that's a whole different thing. And that's sort of what you feel like here. Does it tell time any better? No. Does this get you from point A to point B any better? No, but it is more comfortable and more luxurious, and it's the statement you're making to the world. That's really what these cars are, right? It's a statement about who I am and how far I've gotten and all that, and it's a good statement to make. As far as the driving experience goes, they've done something a little interesting. You have the engine, the twin-turbo V6 up front, and then you have the electric motor, 134 horsepower, sitting in the middle, and then the 8-speed transmission, which means the electric motor is running through the transmission, so that's kind of interesting. The problem is that you have regenerative braking, and so when I hit the brakes, it starts to charge the battery. When you're at high speeds and you're doing a spirited stop, it's not an issue because the regular gigantic big brakes take over. But at low speeds, you'll have the regenerative braking, but the transmission will be downshifting as you're braking. And so you've got regenerative braking, and then for a moment, while it shifts, you lose it, and then it comes back. And it gives you this sort of herky-jerky feeling almost. It's not that noticeable, but I'm a car journalist. I drive a lot of cars. It's my job to notice. I notice it. If this was a Kia, I wouldn't care. But this is a Bentley, and it's supposed to be smooth and refined. And so that's not enough of a reason not to buy it, because most people probably won't even notice. And if you do, you'll just think, oh, that's just part of what the car is. And really, it's the price you pay for having all the other stuff. It is a little odd, and it shows that the engineers at Bentley do need to work on things a little bit and polish and whatever. Now, that's not to say that you'd have the same problem with an electric car. Like the Porsche Taycan electric car has a 2-speed gearbox, but you're in first gear most of the time until you get up to higher speeds, and then it shifts to second to be more efficient. So when you were coming to brake up to a red light, it wouldn't be shifting like this one is, because it's an 8-speed, and so it goes from, 5th to 4th to 3rd, and it's not as smooth as it could be. Now, this does support Apple CarPlay, but it doesn't support wireless. You have to plug it in, which is annoying because I have the phone charger there and I don't want to have to plug in my phone. It's not an elegant experience. And so your USB cable plugs in there and then runs to your phone, which you're going to throw in this bin because that's the only really place to put it. It's not a great solution. I wish there was a better place to put my phone when I had it plugged in, and I feel like they just sort of ignored that there and just put the phone there. I don't know. It's not a great solution. But this button here is pretty cool, actually. I'm not going to hit it because I have a camera mounted to the sunroof there. But what that does is it closes both of the sunroof shades, because this has 2 sunroofs, one in the front and one in the back, and also closes the side window sunshades and the rear window sunshade all at once. So you just hit that and everything sort of closes up and makes it darker in here. If you want some privacy, you can do that. And then you have this nice brushed metal grippy knob that's the same as the ones up here, and that changes your drive modes. So you've got sport, and then you've got Bentley mode, which is the default, comfort, and then custom. So you can go in and change the settings and make them more to your liking. And it does change it by quite a bit, changes things like the shift points and what the suspension's doing. It's got an adjustable suspension, so it'll firm that up. Though it's got a stopwatch right here, you're not going to take this to the racetrack. But Bentley is, a motor racing brand, and so they've got that, and they've got the sport mode. It's plenty fast, it's 540 horsepower, something like that. Just leave it in Bentley mode. That's what most people are going to do, and then they're never going to touch it again. This armrest slides back and forth, so if you want to have a little more armrest, you can do it, but it's at the expense of your 2 cup holders. So I got to imagine most people will leave this open and then have their cup holders there, but if you want, you can have that, or if you want to see more wood, you can close it. I don't know what. I don't understand lids for cup holders, because if you're going to put cups in it, you're going to have it open, so why not just not have a lid? Maybe because it's prettier when you're taking press photos? I don't know. But it's got a couple cup holders there. Aside from the gorgeous, amazing rotating screen here, it's pretty typical luxury car up here, right? It does have much nicer materials. This shift knob feels really nice. The wood is absolutely gorgeous. All the touch points, all the metal feels really high quality. This is a luxury car, and it feels like a luxury car, and if you compare this to a Tesla or even a Mercedes, you're going to get in and be like, okay, this is a cut above. And that's the point of buying a Bentley, is it's a really comfortable, nice place to spend your time, whether you are commuting to work or whether you are taking a 2,000-mile road trip across Germany or something, on the Autobahn at high speed. And that's what this is really designed for, is high-speed cruising. Driving this at 85 miles an hour on the highway, you might as well be going 40 for the amount of jostling and wind noise and everything you get. It's so, so nice. I can't even explain it to you. Even sitting here in traffic with the massage on, totally relaxed. It's great. And the back seats are the same way, or actually they're even more comfy, because if you're sitting in back, you don't have to drive. So this works equally well both as a driver's car and a vehicle to be driven in. In the back seat, you've got a little touchscreen in the middle, and you can use that to control the stereo or the climate or what the seats are doing. There are a couple cup holders back there. There's actually a big storage bin in between the seats. The storage in the front is actually rather limited. You've got this little pocket here, which is good enough for a phone and honestly not much else. You have the 2 cup holders here. You've got a cup holder / bin in each door. That's really not that big. Maybe you could fit 2 smaller water bottles in it, but that's it. In the back, you do have a large center console. This doesn't come up, but in the back it does. Couple other things to note about the driving experience and sacrifices you make having the hybrid. For one, the hybrid battery is pretty heavy, and so that adds some weight to the car, 5,600 pounds total. So with people and your stuff in here and fuel and all that, you're right at about 3 tons. It's a very long car as well. Driving here on the highway is not a big deal, but like turning through a tight parking lot, you do notice it. The V8 and W12 Flying Spurs you can get with rear wheel steering, and that makes it turn much more tightly in a parking lot, and it makes the car feel much smaller than it is. You can't get that on the hybrid because there's no room for it in the back because of the electric motor and where the batteries are and all that. In addition to the rear wheel steering, this also doesn't have the 48 volt active anti-roll bars that are available with the V8 or the W12. So it does have a little bit more body roll. You can sort of feel the weight if you're really hustling through the corners. Which, are you going to be doing that on a Flying Spur? Probably not. You do lose a little bit of space in the trunk to the batteries as well. It's not like it's small in there, but it is something to note. And so should you get the hybrid Flying Spur? Well, if you want a Flying Spur, you can get the V8, which is terrific. You can get the W12 if you want even more power and panache and excitement. Or you can get this, which prices in between the two. And you do have some sacrifices to make, but you do get 25-something miles of all-electric power. In California, you can use the carpool lane, and you do get a tax credit. So which one would I get? Well, I do like the all-electric, and it's very quiet when it's in all-electric mode, and you can drive around, and if you did live in a city that is going to go and ban internal combustion engines from downtown, this would let you drive there. So if you have those concerns, yeah, this is great. Or if you want a Bentley, and really what you want is an electric Bentley, but it doesn't exist yet, well, this is going to get you as close as you can get today. Do you want the one with the EV and the 25 miles of range? Maybe. Do you want the V8 that has the rear wheel steering and the anti-roll bars? Maybe you want that too. Other than the drivetrain, in here it's pretty much identical. Or do you want the great big engine, W12, with the most power? So the answer to that question reminds me of a conversation I just had at Cars and Coffee. And he was asking me about the Flying Spur versus a Rolls-Royce Dawn that was parked next to it. And he was saying, oh, which one do you get? And I said, well, number one, they're in different price brackets because this one is $210,000 to $290,000, whereas the Dawn starts about $400,000 and goes up from there. It's a very different mentality. They're both wonderful luxury cars with many good things about them. But I have a feeling that when people look at them, they're going to know immediately which one they want. The Rolls-Royce is very classy, classic, luxury. This one's a little bit more sporty. It's a little bit more fun. Especially this one with this beautiful paint and the blacked out and the carbon fiber and all that. This is like a big sporty sedan, and if you want to go hustle through the corners or whatever, you can, but you don't have to. But it's more about the Bentley just has a different sort of feeling to it. People think of them as competitors, but they're really not. If you can afford a Rolls-Royce, you can afford a Bentley if you want it. If you can afford a Bentley, you can probably afford a Rolls-Royce, or certainly a used one if you want that. You can make it your own. And it's very different style-wise. This is different than a Rolls-Royce. It looks different, it feels different, it's just a different mentality, even though theoretically they're competitors, they're both ultra-luxury sedans, whatever. Bentley has the racing pedigree and the James Bond pedigree too, because James Bond drove a supercharged blower Bentley in the books, which that's a pretty cool car. And so this has a little bit of history there as well. So should you buy the Flying Spur Hybrid? Well, if you want an ultra-luxury sedan, but don't quite want the Rolls-Royce Ghost, which I think is the better car, though it's $200,000 more, then this is fantastic. It's not a car that you're going to see a lot of, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And this blue, the Jetstream paint is absolutely phenomenal. People are looking at this constantly. So if you want that, get this with the beautiful paint and the blacked out package. It's awesome. Or you can get something a little more understated, British racing green, something like that. Maybe people won't look at you quite as much. So that's the 2022 Bentley Flying Spur Hybrid. Thanks for watching. Drive safely. And if you enjoyed this video, give this one a watch next.